You got what you wanted, and yet you're still empty. The job, the relationship, the house, the freedom. And still there's a shadow inside you. A quiet ache, question you can't shake. Why does none of this feel like enough? Arthur Schopenhauer had an answer, and it wasn't comforting. He believed life is not a path to happiness, but a trap, a treadmill of desire. We want, we chase, we suffer, and when we finally get what we want, the suffering doesn't end. It just changes shape. For Schopenhauer, this isn't personal failure. It's the default state of human existence. You are not broken. You are functioning exactly as the universe designed you, and that design is cruel. This isn't self-help. This is philosophy with teeth. It cuts deep because it tells the truth. Every desire carries with it a promise. But behind that promise is a lie. And the lie is this: satisfaction is permanent. It's not. You already know that. You've felt it. Over and over again. And still, you keep chasing. So what if Schopenhauer was right? What if you are not chasing happiness, but escaping boredom, disappointment, and the fear that life means nothing unless you're pursuing something? This is not a video about giving up. It's a video about seeing clearly. And once you see, you can never unsee it. Welcome to the cycle. Let's begin. You think you make choices, but what if you're being pulled by something deeper, older, blind? Arthur Schopenhauer didn't see human beings as rational. He saw us as puppets dangled in the strings of something he called the will. Not willpower, not free will, but the will to live, a force that exists beneath your thoughts, beneath your identity. It doesn't care about your happiness. It only wants one thing: to continue. It makes you hungry, so you eat. It makes you lonely, so you date. It makes you restless, so you scroll. You're not choosing. You're responding, reacting, obeying, to Schopenhauer. This will is not some mystical spirit. It's mechanical, it's cruel, it's unconscious, and it drives everything from the instinct of an ant to the ambition of an emperor. And it never ends, because the moment a desire is fulfilled, the will creates a new one, and then another, and then another. Every high fades, every pleasure rots, every victory leaves behind a void. And what do we do with the void? We fill it, not with peace, but with another craving. Schopenhauer saw this in himself. He saw it in the people around him. And he saw it in history. He looked at the world and didn't see progress. He saw repetition, wars, greed, sex, power, regret, all driven by the same conscious machine disguised as meaning. He didn't hate life. He just stopped pretending it was something it wasn't. He said, life swings like a pendulum backward and forward between pain and boredom. Most philosophies try to uplift. Schopenhauer stripped everything down. He wanted to show us what we truly are, so we could stop living inside an illusion. It wasn't pessimism for the sake of being dark. It was clarity. And clarity, in his eyes, was the first step toward liberation. But here's the question. If everything you do is driven by this blind will, can you ever be free? Or are you just playing your part? Let's take that further. What if the very idea of happiness, the thing you've built your life around, was never real to begin with? What if it's not you who wants, but the will through you? Let's go deeper. You want something, you get it. It fades. You want again. That's the cycle, the engine of human existence. Not a glitch, but the system itself. Schopenhauer didn't invent this pattern. He just named it, exposed it, and dared to ask what it means for a species that never stops chasing. Think about it. You've longed for things, desperately. A person, a goal, an escape. Then one day, you got it. And for a moment, it felt like truth, like meaning. like peace. But only for a moment, then it faded. The shine dulled. The feeling wore off, and something inside you whispered, "What's next?" That whisper is the will, restless, unrelenting. It doesn't care that you just arrived. It's already moved on. You're never allowed to stay satisfied, because satisfaction kills the will, and the will must survive. This isn't abstract philosophy. It's how your brain works. Modern neuroscience proves it. Your dopamine spikes not when you get the reward, but when you anticipate it. The wanting is more powerful than the having. It always has been. That's why the high never lasts. That's why every victory is followed by emptiness. Not because you failed, but because the reward was never meant to satisfy you. It was meant to keep you moving. Now ask yourself, how many hours have you spent chasing feelings that can't last? How many times have you blamed yourself for the boredom that followed? It's not your fault. It's not weakness. It's biology. It's metaphysics. It's the will, social media, advertising, dating apps. They don't create desire. They exploit the cycle. They are built on it. Swipe, reward. Boredom. Swipe again. Endless loops of momentary pleasure. You're not consuming content. You're being consumed by it. We are not rational actors. We are emotional machines, running code we didn't write. And that code says, want more, always more. Never stop. But where does that leave us? Empty and endlessly active. Running towards something we never reach, because the moment we do, it vanishes. Desire, fulfillment, boredom. Desire again. A treadmill disguised as progress. A trap disguised as freedom. And here's the hardest part. Even when you know that cycle, you can't escape it, because the will isn't something you can kill. It's something you are. But what if someone else knew this? What if the world you live in is designed around it? Let's look at that next. If your suffering is predictable, it can be monetized. Schopenhauer saw the will as a universal curse. But in the modern world, it's become a business model. We live in a system that feeds on your dissatisfaction, not accidentally, but strategically. Every ad you see, every product sold, every clickbait title is a solution to a problem you didn't create, but one the system needs you to have. Your anxiety. It's good for business, your fear of missing out. Profitable, your boredom. An opportunity for engagement. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's behavioral economics. It's algorithmic design. It's capitalism on autopilot. You are not the customer. You are the raw material. Your attention, your longing, your weakness. Your will. Modern systems don't want you to be free from the cycle. They want you addicted to it. Scrolling, buying, swiping, searching, not for meaning, but for a hit of dopamine. And when the hit wears off, they're waiting with a new solution, a new product, a new illusion. Schopenhauer warned us, satisfaction is death to desire, and desire is life. So if they want you alive and consuming, they must keep you unsatisfied. Forever, your pain is not a side effect. It's the plan. Think about how often you've felt almost happy, like it was just around the corner. If only you had the right body, the right partner, the right lifestyle. Where do those beliefs come from? They're planted by industries that depend on you never arriving. Because if you arrived, if you were content, you'd stop playing, you'd stop chasing, you'd stop spending, and the machine would starve. This is more than marketing. It's architecture. Your digital environment is built like a casino. Bright, addictive, fast, no clocks, no silence. Just one more hit, one more promise. It knows your psychology better than you do. And it doesn't want your freedom. It wants your attention, your repetition, your obedience. And here's the cruel part. Even when you realize this, you still play along, because the will doesn't care that you know. It only wants what it wants, so where do you go from here? Is there any escape? Or is Schopenhauer's vision a life of longing, pain, and disappointment all we have? The answer isn't simple, but it begins with seeing the cycle for what it is. And maybe, just maybe, you can step off the treadmill. Let's explore that possibility. If the will cannot be destroyed, can it be silenced? Schopenhauer believed the will drives all suffering. So to escape suffering, you must stop wanting. But how? He wasn't naive. He knew you couldn't just choose to stop desiring. You are the will. So fighting it feels like fighting gravity. But he did see cracks in the system. Moments where the will goes quiet: art, music, philosophy. Contemplation, not because they give you something, but because they lift you above the hunger, even for just a moment. He wrote, "It is only in aesthetic contemplation that the will is silent." Think of the last time you truly got lost in a piece of music, a film, a sunset, a strange, beautiful idea. Not chasing, not grasping, just being. In those moments, the will loosens its grip. You're not needing, you're noticing. For Schopenhauer, these weren't distractions. They were windows into transcendence. He admired Eastern philosophies for this reason, especially Buddhism and Vedanta, traditions that didn't glorify desire, but taught liberation from it. Renunciation, stillness, inner detachment, not to become numb, but to become free. In Buddhist terms, this is nirvana, the extinguishing of the flame. Not death, but freedom from the fire of craving. And maybe you've felt that flicker, too, in nature. In solitude, in silence, where nothing is expected of you, where no product is being sold, where you are not measured by your ambition. Those moments feel alien because our world is built against them. But Schopenhauer's message is this: if you can't kill the will, you can choose to stop feeding it, even briefly. And in those brief moments, there is peace, not the peace of pleasure, the peace of emptiness, of stillness, of not needing anything to be different than it is. Is that practical in daily life? Not always. But it's real, and once you see it, you'll know it's possible. And that changes everything. It means your suffering isn't you. It's the will moving through you. And if you can observe it, you can stop identifying with it. This isn't easy. It takes discipline, awareness, courage, because when you stop chasing, you'll feel the full weight of what you are running from. But if you can hold that weight without fleeing, you might find something beneath it. Not pleasure, not ecstasy, but something rarer, freedom. And maybe, just maybe, Schopenhauer wasn't telling us life is meaningless. Maybe he was saying, the meaning begins when the wanting ends. What if you've never truly lived? Because you've never stopped wanting. Schopenhauer didn't want to depress you. He wanted to wake you up. He didn't deny beauty, joy, or meaning. He just believed they weren't where we were looking. We search for meaning in achievement, love, pleasure. But the moment we get them, we're already chasing the next. Schopenhauer said, all striving springs from want or deficiency, from dissatisfaction with one's condition. That's a hard truth, one that challenges the foundation of modern life, our goals, our culture, even our relationships. But was he right? Look at your life. Look at the world. How much suffering is caused, not by pain, but by the constant fear of not having enough, not being enough, not doing enough. How much of what we call progress is just the will reinventing the same hunger in fancier clothes? You don't have to agree with Schopenhauer. You don't have to renounce all desire. But you should ask yourself, is my life my own, or am I just playing out the will's programming? Because once you see the game, you can begin to step outside it, even if just for moments, moments of stillness, of silence, of real presence. Those moments are not just breaks in the cycle. They are glimpses of what life might be when the noise finally stops. So was Schopenhauer right? Maybe not completely, maybe not always, but he saw something most of us are afraid to see, that the suffering isn't random, it's built in. And if we ever want to escape it, we need to understand the engine that drives it. Not to destroy the will, but to stop confusing it with who we are, because you are not your cravings. You are the awareness behind them, and from that place, you can finally ask the only question that matters. If I no longer needed to chase anything, what would I do with my life? You can't escape the fire, but you can learn how to stand in it without burning. Schopenhauer's vision of life can feel bleak, but maybe it's not a death sentence. Maybe it's an instruction manual. If you accept the will is eternal, that you'll always be pulled by desire, what then do you give up? Withdraw. Renounce the world. Some do, but there's another path. One not of escape, but of recalibration. Instead of running from pain, you study it. Instead of fearing the will, you learn its rhythm. You stop letting it steer you blindly and start walking alongside it. As a guide, not a master. Because the will isn't evil, it's just primal. It gave us survival, language, art. It built civilizations. But it also built prisons. The problem isn't the will, it's our obedience to it. This is where modern existentialists diverge from Schopenhauer. Nietzsche embraced the will as power. Sartre turned it into freedom. Camus made peace with absurdity. Each saw the trap, and each chose a different way to walk through it. So maybe the answer isn't to destroy the will or surrender to it. Maybe it's to dance with it, to channel it, to understand that desire will arise, but you don't have to follow every urge. You don't have to believe every craving. You can pause, witness, choose. In that space between impulse and action is where you find the first flickers of freedom. And in those flickers, maybe life becomes something more than suffering. Not perfect, not painless, but honest, alive, real, and maybe that's enough.